I am an immigrant from Honduras, Central America. I have been living in Boston for the past 14 years. And I have been directing Centro Presente for the past 10 years. Centro Presente has a long history of working with the Central American immigrant community. Our organization advocated for the first temporary protected status that was granted for Honduras in 1998, and then El Salvador in 2001. Centro Presente represents over 1,000 people that have been renewing TPS with our organization for the past 20 years. Our activities are part of a grassroots campaign that was launched last year on January 2018, with the full participation of more than 100 TPS holding members of Centro Presente. Centro Presente strongly denounces the Trump administration's cruel decision to terminate the temporary protected status TPS of the 200,000 Salvadoran immigrants who have been contributing to economies across the U.S. since 2001. We know that this decision is part of a larger strategy to criminalize the more than 300,000 TPS holders from Haiti, Honduras, Nicaragua, El Salvador, and other countries that have suffered disasters. We have clarity that the decision to continue or terminate TPS is a decision of the federal government. This decision will have a huge impact in our communities at the local level. Therefore, it is urgent that the authorities at the local level assume an important role in support of the communities protected by TPS. Washington, in the hands of both political parties, never had the political will to reform and transform our immigration system. For that reason, Centro Presente has focused our work at the state and local level. And with the determined support of elected officials like our city council SECIN, we were able to pass a local version of the TROS Act here in the city of Boston in 2014. He is also the sponsor of a municipal resolution in support of TPS that we were able to pass last summer. In August of 2015, our organization, Centro Presente, worked with our state representative, Adrian Madaro, to pass the first bipartisan state resolution in support of TPS in the country. This decision of eliminating TPS and other programs that protect members of our community is destroying the fundamental structure of any society, the family. Even my own family is going to be affected because I also have family who live in Texas that had TPS. However, the next generation of sons and daughters of people protected by TPS who are themselves US citizens are ready to fight and make their voice heard. It is my honor to introduce our first speaker, Gabriela Martinez, who is a 10-year-old US citizen whose mother is a TPS holder from El Salvador. Gabriela?
Good morning. My name is Gabriela. I'm 10 years old and my mother has TPS. I am a U.S. citizen and I go to Francis Drake Elementary School in Leominster, Massachusetts. When I grow up, I want to be an ESL teacher for students who do not speak, read, or understand English. In order to accomplish my dream, I need my mother and family. I think that other kids, teenagers, and young adults need their parents and family to reach their dreams too. Kids with family with TPS may not accomplish what they have wanted because their family may not be with them. In order to accomplish our dreams, our parents and family need residency, not just TPS. Thank you.
Great job. Great job.
Thank you, Gabriela. And as I said before, the decision is going to come from Washington. It's coming from Washington, by the way, right? But we also had to work in localities. And we need to work with politicians at the local and the state level, politicians that are going to be working with the community beyond a discourse. We need action. So now it's my honor to introduce the mayor of the city of Boston, Mayor Walsh.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Thank you for everything you're doing here today. And unfortunately, we have to be here today to talk about this issue. Gabriela, first of all, came up to this podium with all of these TV cameras and all of you, and she didn't have one note. She did an incredible job. Great job. I want to thank everyone that's here today. I want to thank the elected officials that are with us today. We have City Councilor Kim Janey, City Councilor Lydia Edwards, who are here, who are brand new to, and Eddie Flynn, who are brand new to the City Council. Thank you for being here with us. I want to thank the President of the City Council, Andrea Campbell, who's with us. We have Tim McCarthy with us from Hyde Park. We have Anisha Sabi George, who's a citywide councilor. We have Ayanna Presley with us today. I want to thank you for being here. We have State Representative Adrian Matero with us today from East Boston. Thank you. Senator Joe Boncory is here as well from East Boston. I want to thank you, Senator. I want to thank my dear friend from Cambridge, Marjorie Decker, who I served in the House of Representatives with. I want to thank all the, I think I got all the electeds today. Yeah, I got everyone. I want a special shout out to Josh Zakem, because a couple of years ago, Josh came into me and we started talking about, long before we knew what was going to happen in the country, he came to us with a whole bunch of different issues he wanted to work with, and Josh has been one of our leaders here. So thank you, Councilor Zakem, for your great work as well here. I just want to take a minute to talk about our city, and I've said this many times. Boston, Massachusetts is a special place because 28% of our people that live in our city were born in another country. Those countries represent the whole world. 48% of the people that live in our city are first generation, which means their parents came from countries all over the world. We are a city of immigrants. We are a state of immigrants, and we are a country of immigrants. And it's important for us as Americans not to forget that. As Patricia talked about her family and talked about her family, and this is affecting her family right now, I can remember back in the 70s and 80s where we had undocumented cousins in my family that were affected, that were waiting for Congress to act, waiting for the Senate to act, along with thousands of other folks in this city and in this country, worried about their status, who went to work every single day like our immigrants of today, who pay taxes, who send their kids to our schools. Our kids that are in our schools shouldn't be worrying about whether or not their mothers or fathers are going to be sent out of this country along with them. That's not the message that we should be sending as a country, and that's certainly not the message that we're going to send as a city. The young people that we're talking about, and Gabriela, you heard her, she's the promise of America. She is the American dream. She is a young person that could go on and do anything in her life because of an opportunity this country can provide her. Gabriela's parents came to this country for reasons. Just like many people, they came to this country to oftentimes send money back home to support the family back home, but also to raise a family in America. We need to make sure that we continue to support our young people. By ending TPS for El Salvador, the president is ripping away the American dream for 200,000 people. That includes about 6,000 in Massachusetts and almost 2,000 in the city of Boston. Not to mention their children and their family members, as Patricia said, because it just doesn't affect the families that are here under the status. It affects the cousins and the other family members that are here. It's going to force individuals to return to their lives that they had to leave behind. And sometimes that situation is often dangerous. It's also going to rip them away from the lives that they're built here in Boston, in America. something that we shouldn't be doing as a country. That's not what the Founding Fathers talked about, the foundation of our country. That was not the foundation of this country. And what's happening now is a disgrace. TPS holders are Bostonians, as any of us. As much as I am a Bostonian, TPS holders are Bostonians. They've been here for years and decades. They're our neighbors and co-workers. They're members of our faith community. They own homes and businesses. Many of them have children and spouses who are United States citizens. They pay taxes and contribute to the economy. And after this tax bill that's been passed in Washington by the Congress, they're going to pay more taxes. And you know something? I haven't heard one person from El Salvador grab me and complain about that. And more important, they're members of our community. Taking this protection away from these young people and family members of ours will not make our community safer. To the contrary, it's going to introduce chaos. It will inject fear in our neighborhoods, as we've seen already in the last year and month. We've seen that. I see it when I walk into the schools, when I look in the young people's faces. It's going to interrupt our businesses. It's going to rip our family apart. It's going to go completely opposite of what we're trying to do here in Boston and in Massachusetts as far as building our economy and making sure that we lift everyone up. Of all the deeply troubling things that have happened since the president took office, this is one of the most hypocritical, and it's probably the most un-American. Members of the Trump administration have seemed to have forgotten their ancestors came here seeking a better life, often fleeing hunger and war, persecution, and natural disaster. If they had been sent back, you wouldn't see their last names on office buildings and hotels and on Pennsylvania Avenue today at the White House. But they prefer to think about that wasn't them. What they're doing is they'd rather divide us and the country. The truth is, America isn't just defined by its borders, and it's certainly not defined by any one culture. America is defined by our values. America is an idea. Out of many, we are one. In Boston, we never lost sight of that. Actually, we know America is great. America was literally built by people like Gabriella, and Karen's going to come up in a few minutes and talk, and Elmer's parents. That's who this country was built by. If you go back to any building in this building, or any road in this street, or any church, those buildings were built by the hands of immigrants that came here and worked hard to lay that foundation. And hundreds of years later, many of those buildings are still standing. That's who we are as a city. We need to continue to move forward. Boston has never forgotten that we're a city of immigrants. We know that fear-mongering only weakens communities that we've built together. We stand united in Boston. And when I say this, Patricia mentioned this about elected officials. In Boston, we stand united for Salvatorians, with Haitians, with the entire Central American community. Unshaken in our belief that diversity and opportunity are what makes our city and America great. Congress has 20 months to act. We're going to push them, and I'm going to push them every single day, because families cannot live with this uncertainty. In a couple of weeks, I get a chance to go down to Washington, not to go to the White House. I haven't been there. I haven't been invited back. But I get a chance to go down and meet with the Conference of Mayors, mayors from around the United States of America. And almost to a person, that includes Republican mayors, we stand united on these issues because we know what makes our cities move. We know what supports our cities. We know what the backbone of our cities are. In June, we have the United States Conference of Mayors coming to Boston, Massachusetts to host a conference. We're going to have over 1,200 mayors from around the United States of America here in our city. And during that time, we're going to highlight the fact of our immigrant city. We're going to highlight the fact of our young people doing special things in our schools. We're going to highlight the fact of who we are as a city and where our morals are. Our Office of Immigrant Advancement, Alejandro St. Ganis here, is an amazing office. Our Immigrant Defense Fund is providing lawyers to people facing deportation. We are developing legal clinics to help TPS holders stay in the city they love and to educate people so people don't feel they have to live in the shadows of our city. We're fighting for a comprehensive immigration reform that provides real pathways to permanent residency and citizenship. And above all, we're showing what a city of proud immigrants looks like, one full of TPS holders from El Salvador and everywhere else. It looks like Boston. That's who we are. I want to thank all of the organizations that are here today. I want to thank Centro Presente. Thank you for organizing this. I want to thank the Haitian American United organization. Thank you for being here. I want to thank the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights and Economic Justice for being here today. I want to thank the elected officials for standing up for our communities today and every single day. And above all, and most importantly today, I want to thank the TPS holders in the city of Boston today. I want to thank you for your strength, your bravery, and for choosing Boston, the way our forefathers did, the way my parents did. You make our city stronger. We respect and we love you, and we're going to fight for you every single day until Washington smartens up. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you, Mayor. We have been holding monthly meetings with members that have TPS. And Gabriela's mother has been coming to those meetings since January last year, non-stopping. And Gabriela was there at every single meeting on Saturday. And I'm so happy to see somebody like Gabriela here today speaking with you. And I'm so happy to see the politicians too. But I want to see the politicians not just when we are facing a crisis. I want to see the politicians all the time working with the community, working with the immigrant community, because we are part of the society. We are part of the city. So please don't come to see us only when we're facing a crisis. Come to see us every single day. Go to East Boston, go to Chelsea, see us. We live there, we're part of this city. And our next speaker is our City Council, Joe Saking, who have been actually working with us. So thank you for being here with us all this time.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you for organizing this. Thank you, Mayor, for being here and for your leadership on these issues. When I first joined the City Council, 2014, the mayor had just come in as well, and we sat down a few months in after talking to organizations like Centro Presente, the ACLU, many labor organizations here to talk about the Boston Trust Act, to talk about making sure that people felt safer in our communities. And that wasn't an easy call, but Mayor Walsh was right there with us, and everyone on the City Council ultimately passed that bill unanimously. And that was our first opportunity to work together. And unfortunately, we keep having to come together at times like this again and again and again. In particular, since President Trump, and I hate saying those words, but since President Trump took office and continues to create policies based on nothing but cruelty, nothing but discrimination, divisiveness, attacks on our communities here in Boston and across the country. The non-renewal of TPS is completely unacceptable. There is no basis in fact or reason or economics for doing this. In fact, this is hurting our tax base, this is hurting our economy, this is hurting our communities. Holders of TPS and people in our immigrant communities are taxpayers, our workers, our students, are our neighbors. They're paying far more taxes than President Trump and his cabinet members, particularly after last week or last month. It is completely unacceptable. We continue to stand here again and again with folks who are facing deportation, who are facing discrimination and persecution. You know, I stand here today as the son of a first-generation American. My mother was the first generation of her family who was born in the United States. And her parents had fled as refugees from the Nazi Holocaust in Europe. And they were able to come to New York and put down roots and build a family. And they were welcomed into that community. And we eventually settled here, obviously. But times have changed, how times have changed. The mayor was talking about what makes us Americans, what makes us Bostonians. It's the differences that bring us together, that make this community exciting and vibrant and growing. We look around this room and see people from different backgrounds, from different cities, from different countries, from different walks of life. We're all here because we care about fairness and equality and justice, and we want to continue to make sure that America stays great. We know it always has been. We need to continue fighting to make sure it is. And what makes America great is our diversity, is us coming together and building our communities. Seeing Gabriella speak, I don't think I could have come close to that at her age, and I fully expect, in about 15 or 20 years, maybe see you back up here with the elected officials who have also been such great partners. Our partners at the State House, our City Council President, Andrea Campbell, my colleagues on the council have always stood together. In our 4+ years here, my 4+ years here, whenever there's been an issue of civil rights or social justice, we have spoken with one voice, 13 councilors and the mayor, and often with our allies up at the State House, to stand up for what's right. We need to continue doing that. We need to continue making sure that everyone in our communities is safe, whether it's the thousands of people in this community right now who have TPS, who are at risk of deportation, whether it's the hundreds of thousands or millions of immigrants across this country. I'm going to say, President Trump, you need to do better, you need to fix this. That's a waste of breath. We need to call on Congress, our representatives, our senators, to find a solution to this, to make sure that there is a path to permanent residency and citizenship for the people in our communities, people who are here, people who are going to school with our children, who are working side by side with us, who own businesses, who are filling our communities with life and vibrancy. The time is now. The time is for us all to stand up and talk about what it really means to be an American. And that means welcoming people from different backgrounds. That means working together. That means standing up for what is right. I'm proud to be here with you, with Centro Presente, with the TPS holders, with my colleagues in government, with everyone in this community. But we cannot, as Patricia said, it can't just be today. It has to be tomorrow and the next day and the next day until we fix this, until we bring back the way that we want this country to be, a country of inclusiveness, a country that welcomes the outsider, that brings people in, that lets them build the kind of life and community that my family had the opportunity to do 50, 60, 70 years ago, and that many more are doing today. So thank you for your efforts. Thank you for being here. I couldn't be prouder to stand here with you holding that sign, to be at this podium. We have a lot of work to do.
Thank you so much, Councilor Sakin, and thank you so much, Mayor. This is my first time organizing an event with you, but not with your people. I just want to let you know that Centro Presente has been working with Alejandra and her team for a few years, and I really, really appreciate it. I have been doing this for the past 10 years, working with the immigrant community, and I can see the difference since the Menino time. The City Hall is always open for us, even when we are sometimes troublemakers. So thank you. Now I would like to introduce Karen Nazariego, who is an 11-year-old U.S. citizen whose mother is a TPS holder from El Salvador. She has been renewing TPS, the mother has been renewing TPS with Centro Presente for the past 18 years.
Hello, my name is Karen Mazariego. I am 11 years old and I go to Paul Revere School. My parents have TPS and I am a U.S. citizen. My family and I live in Revere. I love my family and I want to stay with them in our home here. Please help us do that by saving TPS and giving them a residency. Don't separate our families. Thank you.
Gracias, Karen. And now I would like to introduce a person that is actually very new here at City Hall, but she's not new working with the community. And I know her when she was an organizer, a lawyer, and it's an honor for me to introduce a person of color, a woman of color, that is going to be representing us, I hope, at City Hall, right? And actually it's my own city council because I live in East Boston, so I'm talking about our new representative, Lydia Edwards.
I can echo all of the thank yous that have already gone out. I just will say again, especially thank you to Centro Presente and Patricia. We have worked for years together on immigrant rights and immigrant empowerment and assuring that every single member of our community feels that they are valued and that they have dignity here. I just want to say at this particular moment, a lot of us can talk about the Trump administration, can talk about all the things that are happening down in DC and genuinely feel that we have nothing and that we can't do anything. Actually, as politicians, we're all called to serve you especially, serve the folks who need our voice. And so I wanted to make sure that you understand, not only am I here, but all of my colleagues are here to serve you. Call our offices, come to us. And we are standing united with you in total solidarity. But I also wanted to get to some concrete actions that we can do right away. I know there's a lot of wonderful talk about how we're going to do it, but let's talk about what we should be doing or focusing on. One, let's just make sure that we are creating community through service. And one way to do that is to make sure that we are educating our fellow Americans, especially about what is TPS. That's the job of politicians. We need to educate a lot of our folks who are wondering why this is a big deal, what it is. They are not from here. All those ignorant comments that you're hearing too many times, it's because of lack of education. Not only lack of education about immigration, but lack of historical education about why many people from other countries have to come here to begin with. So let's, as politicians, commit to making sure that we do everything we can to shut down those stereotypes, those horrible comments, and those hurtful remarks. I want people to understand that you are welcome here. You are our neighbors, our family members. My husband's an immigrant. The second thing we should be doing, and I think this is a wonderful opportunity for many of us who are in the political realm, and that is to fight against fraud. I know it sounds kind of awkward, but at this particular moment, when a lot of communities are in panic, there are certain notario publicos, there are certain industries that are ready to make a lot of money off a lot of misery. We need to make sure that we're standing firmly with the community and making sure that they're not exploited. And finally, resources. I think it's really important right now that we have some very tough and good conversations and making sure that we are planning for our futures. For those who are homeowners, for those who have children here, making sure all of your legal orders and legal affairs are in order, and making sure that you have planned out what's going to happen, whether or how things happen in 20 months. We certainly will be fighting to make sure TPS stays here, but we want to make sure that you are prepared and given the resources to do that. So, I'm going to take a couple seconds to say everything I just said again. Gracias a Centro Presente. Gracias a Patricia Montes. Hay mucha gente ya que sabe que yo estaba trabajando con ella muchos años para la justicia de inmigrantes y para las familias que viven aquí. I'll start to cry too. Estamos aquí para luchar para justicia social y económica. Gracias para todos los miembros de la comunidad que están aquí, para los niños que están aquí, y por toda la comunidad que no puede estar aquí porque ellos están trabajando mucho. Está dentro de mi corazón y en los corazones de toda la gente aquí. Los políticos están llamados para servir toda la gente aquí. Significa que nos tenemos que quedar con ustedes, escuchar de ustedes y luchar siempre para ustedes. Hay tres maneras que nosotros podemos ayudar a la comunidad. Yo estaba hablando, pero primero es educación para los americanos, que no saben la historia, porque las gentes están aquí, necesitan que vengan aquí. Tenemos también que educar a los americanos, porque TPS es bueno para la comunidad, que la gente que tiene TPS, hay muchas personas que no saben que tienen TPS. Es importante, como los niños estaban haciendo, para todas las personas con TPS, para quitar la frente, en habla, yo trabajando, yo estoy pagando mis impuestos. Segundo, el luchar contra el fraude de los notarios públicos. Hay muchas personas, hay muchos buenos, pero hay algunas que están ganando mucho dinero porque la comunidad está en pánico. Nosotros tenemos que luchar contra ese fraude. En tercera manera, es ayudar a la comunidad preparando y planeando para el futuro. Cualquier manera. ahora nos tenemos un poco tiempo para ayudar con recursos para planear y organizar los asuntos legales. En la ciudad yo creo que puede ayudar con haciendo los recursos para toda la gente. So I just wanted to say thank you again for this time. This is really, again, a call to serve. I'm excited to do that. And yes, Patricia, I'll be doing it consistently. Take care.
Gracias, muchas gracias. Thank you so much. And I think it's also important to educate the U.S. society, not just about what TPS is. I think it's important also to educate the U.S. society about the positive contributions that all immigrants, even undocumented immigrants, give to this country. And I think it's also important to educate the U.S. society, a gigantic portion of the U.S. society, by the way, about the connections between U.S. foreign policy and forced migration coming from countries like my country, Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. Your government has a lot to do with the extreme level of poverty, the extreme level of violence that is taking place in our countries of origin. And that extreme of violence and poverty that is taking place in countries like my country, Honduras, it has a lot to do with the long history of the U.S. military intervention in Latin America. So please take a minute and understand a little bit more about your own history and the impact of that history in our own countries of origin. Then you're going to understand why do we come to this country without documents. And now, and that's why last year, I think it was last year, 2 years ago, we invited our state representative, our young state representative, Adrian Madaro, to come with us and visit Mexico, El Salvador, and Honduras, and see there what is going on there, and had meetings with civil society organizations there that are working, fighting for social economic justice there. So it's my honor to introduce my own state rep, Adrian Madaro.
Thank you, Patty. Again, my name is Adrian Madaro, and I'm very proud to be the state representative for East Boston, the immigrant town for the city of Boston. I'm even more proud to be a first-generation American. My father is an immigrant who came here 35 years ago to make a better life, and in one short generation, his son was able to become a state representative. That right there is the American dream, folks. We're here today because on Monday, there was a shameful, misguided, and short-sighted decision brought down by the Trump administration relative to TPS holders from El Salvador. This is part of a theme, a pattern of the Trump administration of ending TPS for people from all over the world. But this is particularly troublesome because this is the largest amount of people that has been impacted. And personally, my community has thousands of folks from El Salvador who are TPS holders. And this is going to break apart families and tear apart our local economy. And we keep hearing my colleagues talk about education. We need to teach people what TPS is about and what TPS holders are all about. Well, I have a simple solution for that. I invite anybody to come to East Boston and to see my neighbors, to see my friends, my allies in my community who are TPS holders. They're Bostonians just like all of us. They own homes. They own many of the small businesses in East Boston. Their children are U.S. citizens and attend our schools. They're taxpayers, and they are contributing members of our communities. We see it in East Boston. The impacts on my community and more broadly across the state will be tremendous. You're going to see families totally torn apart, and we heard that from these brave young women. These are but snapshots of a bigger picture of what's happening in East Boston and across our country. I touched on the small businesses. In East Boston, many small businesses would literally shutter. They will close if this goes through. While I'm disappointed that we have to continuously come to events like this, I'm very proud to be standing with so many neighbors, allies, and friends, because this shows what our city, what Boston is really all about. This city, this state, this country has been built by immigrants, many of whom are in this room. We must do better as Americans. We can do better, and together we will. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Representative. They always tell us, learn English, do the line, go to school. Well, I have been living here for the past 14 years. I have broken English, but I'm trying. But the next person that I'm going to introduce, he's going to school. By the way, he's going to one of the most prestigious universities that we know, Harvard University. His mother has been renewing TPS because she's a TPS holder from El Salvador. She has been renewing TPS for the past 18 years with Centro Presente. Every single year, go to Centro Presente to renew his work permits. And she's sending kids to school. So I'm talking about our next speaker, Elmer Vivas, who is a US citizen that is going to school.
Good morning, everyone. All right, so I have some notes. I'll just read from that. So I have been privileged being born here. I've always had the protection of US passport. But my parents, they have not had that same protection or that same privilege. Instead, they've had to fight to be here. They've had to fight to get a job. They've had to fight to clean other people's offices, clean other people's hotel rooms, pick up other people's trash, but they've done it with pride. Time and time again, they've reminded me that they take the jobs they do because it's the best opportunity they have, especially after having to flee a country riddled with war, riddled with violence, where you're not sure if you're going to see another day. But the story of my parents is not unique, like it's been mentioned here. And like millions of other immigrants, they've sought out the United States to be a safe haven, protection from poverty that has cyclically affected my family. Beneficiaries of TPS have worked countless full-time and part-time jobs for a country that now wants to express that appreciation for the clean offices, for the clean hotel rooms by saying, you should go back. I have the greatest joy in saying that my dad is now a US citizen, but that was only after paying thousands of dollars into a system that once called him an illegal alien, that once gave him an order of deportation. But now my mom is one of those 300,000 beneficiaries of TPS throughout the United States. 300,000 individuals that have given their blood, sweat, and tears to this country. Individuals that have started families, that work in businesses, and contribute billions of dollars into the economy. Individuals that call the United States of America a home. But now they have to decide between uprooting their entire lives and going back to a country where they have no opportunities to advance, where a new day is not guaranteed, or they stay here and are declared criminals for loving their home. The solution to the complaint that 300,000 people have taken advantage of a temporary system is pretty simple. Make it permanent. Thank you.
So our next speaker, Mayor, thank you so much. Thank you so much for allowing us to have this event today, and thank you so much for allowing us to work with your team. We're definitely going to be here working with them. Thank you so much. Our next speaker, when I moved to Boston, I was actually working with a very small Latino newspaper. And I was going around, and I always see her like, wow, she's a brilliant woman. I want to be like her. The next speaker is our City Councilor, Ayanna Presley.
So when I was in school, I made the decision to take Latin. And I've regretted that because I can't speak Spanish or Haitian Creole. Both languages are often referred to as God's language. And some of my colleagues are able to speak in those languages. But there's one language we all speak, and that is of love. Even if we cannot speak Spanish, even if we cannot speak Haitian Creole, every single person up here speaks the language of family, of love, and of justice. And we will fight for your families in the pursuit of love and the pursuit of justice. And although we do deserve some minuscule credit for being here in solidarity at every level of government, ultimately, our leadership and our being here today, this is not some charitable benevolence. This is what you've earned. You are worth this fight, and we can't stop and we won't stop. When I think about the 6 years that I was a hotel worker and the many TPS holders and immigrants that I worked with, who worked double shifts, who lived in small quarters, who sent money home every week, their blood, their sweat, their tears, their contributions, they often demonstrated a greater citizenship and patriotism than those who are Americans. So what we are doing here today and what we will continue to do is about nothing less than reciprocity. It is what you have earned, it is what you deserve, and it is selfish. We don't want to be denied the Gabriellas. We don't want families torn apart, communities decimated. We don't want that. I'd also just add that in government, it is tempting often to talk about resources and to say when we're unable to do the right thing, it is because of a deficit of them. But I've always maintained that our greatest deficit as a city, as a commonwealth, and a country is a lack of empathy. And we are seeing that on steroids right now. These policies and their devastating impact on families and our economy, the destabilization of our workforce and our economy is cruel and cold and short-sighted. And the reason why we're all so emotional up here, I just want you to know, we're not going to meet each of you. We're not going to know or remember each of your names, but we will remember your stories. And we will carry them with us. And I want you to know, not for a second we will take for granted the bravery that you have shown in telling your stories. At a moment in time when people are living in fear and feel so vulnerable about keeping their homes, about keeping their jobs, about keeping their families intact. The people united will never be defeated, and we will stay united.
We are in shock about the news of El Salvador. But next summer, actually in May maybe, the news about Honduras is also coming. They are also going to make a decision about Honduras, right? And last November was an election in my country. And it was an election with a lot of blood, fraud, an illegal election, by the way. And the Trump administration right now is supporting the imposition of a dictatorship in Honduras. And because of that reason, we have an electoral crisis in Honduras right now. And we're going to have more people coming to the US because of that reason, right? And on top of that, they want to eliminate TPS. To one of the most poor countries in Latin America, and one of the most violent countries in Latin America with a lot of corruption and impunity. So what's going to happen with them? I have a person from Honduras here that have been living in the US for many years, 20 years, more than 20 years. Renewing TPS, Patricia is going to give her testimony.
Thank you so much. My name is Patricia Carvajal, and I've been in this country since I was 19. I'm a single mother construction worker. I have provided for my daughter. I don't receive any government help. I provide for my daughter. I pay taxes, and I'm a very good human being too. So my record is clean, like many of us. We work hard. We do jobs that some people doesn't want to do, and it's okay because we do have a life here. I do not, and I refuse to take my daughter to my country, Honduras, where we have a dictator. I'm going to tell Trump I'm not taking my daughter to that. She is American. She deserves her rights, and this is her country. She deserves to be part of this country. She is already part of this country. And I'm not asking for him to pay me things. I'm asking for my green card. I'm asking for my residence because I have earned it. So please, thank you so much. Thank you. And leaving my daughter behind, that is not a question. How can you leave your kids behind? Whenever they need you, you're not going to be able to come back and see what is going on with them. That is a crazy idea, and I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to leave this country because it's her country, and her right is to have her mother next to her to accomplish her dreams. My daughter's 4 years old. I provide for her. I have a job, and I want to put her in the position that next to help people like many others. Remember, this is a country built out of immigrants. The same fight that we are doing right now, many of you guys did it before, many. So let's remember that. Please help us because we need everybody here. We need everybody's attention. El Salvador, Honduras, all these countries, Haiti, we need you guys. We need to stand together. My country, where we have a dictator, our kids, what they see, because I remember when we have that image holding Trump's head, blood everywhere. That was horrible and cruel. Yes. As a mother, I'm going to tell you right now, in these countries, those pictures are not pictures, are real life. When military kills people in the daylight, and you can see the blood all over because that is what our kids and us see in our countries. We cannot take our kids over there. We cannot, and we won't, and we will fight. This is our country too. We've been part of this country, part of this community. We are human beings asking for the rights of our children. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Representative Marjorie Decker from the city of Cambridge.
I want to say thank you to all of the TPS holders who are here and those who will never be able to be here. To all of the moms who I'm watching shed tears, I want you to know you are not shedding tears alone, and you are not in this fight alone. The morning after Trump was elected, both of my children at the time, ages 4 and 7, cried. Their father is here, and they exist because their father left a war-torn country and had a safe place to come and build a life. And they said, Mom, is he going to make Dad go back to that country because he doesn't like people like Dad? And we had a conversation about citizenship, that Dad as much as has a right to be here as I have a right, as their grandparents have a right. It's different times in which we came here. TPS residents have a right to be here. We invited you to be here. We've invited you and we've asked you to come and be part of our community. You have been part of our community. And I think to the elected officials at the local and at the state level, while we need Congress to do something, and we need them to do something, and they can, we also need to consider forging a path that we don't actually know what completely looks like, but have some ideas. What does it mean for local and state government to understand that our federal government is in fact putting a death wish upon residents in our country? I have traveled to El Salvador many times. I tell you, I have seen children whose fingers have been cut off. What was their crime? They went to school. That is a crime because they would not join gangs in El Salvador. And they defied those gangs, and their parents defied those gangs with the hopes of everything every single parent here wants, an education which leads to a better life. It is a death sentence. It is reckless. It is irresponsible. We have no moral compass. And we cannot stand here and say it is Trump who has no moral compass. We have no moral compass if we don't wake up every single day as elected officials and start thinking out of the box. Things have changed. We were a country that was a beacon of hope, of light. We invited people who have fled violence. And as Patricia has said, often that violence has been because of U.S. policies. And that needs to be understood. We are responsible for those conditions. And to now with no rationale whatsoever, decide 22 years later that we no longer believe in the values of who we are and that you can just go home, but we've done nothing to change the conditions of your country. People don't come here because they want to give up the warmth of family and community and culture. They come here because they will die if they stay in their countries. And that is who we have been as the United States. That has been the pride of who we are as a nation, that we have valued human rights, and that the United States has been a place of sanctuary. Let's stop politicizing what the word sanctuary means. Our country was founded as a sanctuary, a place of hope to be able to come and build a safe, productive life. So I say to all of the TPS holders, I, as a mom, I am sharing your tears. And anyone here who has any kind of a soul should be shedding tears daily. Understand what the consequences are to the lives of those who hold TPS, who will have to go back to their countries, and how it will turn our lives upside down here. And my promise to you is that every day we will continue to fight at the state level and to support the amazing local officials from Boston and from Cambridge who have been leading the charge to say, no, 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 no. You are part of this country, and we will fight every day to figure out how to make sure you stay in our communities, in our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Representative Marjorie Decker. We're ending the program, but we cannot end the program without having the participation of members of the legal community. Members of the legal community that are also activists, and also the members of the Haitian community, because this is a struggle that is not just for people from El Salvador or Honduras. It's also Haiti and many other countries. And we cannot discriminate against our brothers and sisters from Haiti because we are one community. And we have to be together to confront the crisis that we're facing. This oppression that is basically all the policies that this administration is implementing is to oppress people of color just because we're not white. We're not the white immigrant who came from Europe years ago. People in the US, when I moved to the US, people love to say this is a country of immigrants. But look who we are. We're very different immigrants, right? We're brown, we're black. That's why they don't like us. So there is a gigantic element of racism, too, and the policies that they have been implementing against people of color. And by the way, Patricia said that this country was built by immigrants, but also was built by slaves and black people. So our last speaker is not our last speaker, by the way, is Ivan Espinosa Madrigal, the Executive Director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights and Economic Justice.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. The Lawyers Committee condemns the Trump administration's decision to terminate TPS status for over 200,000 hard-working Americans who are originally from El Salvador. In Massachusetts, we have over 12,000 TPS recipients who are raising more than 6,000 U.S. citizen children. Eliminating TPS will cost the Commonwealth millions in economic productivity, particularly because TPS recipients are critically important assets in industries like health services, nursing, and elderly care. TPS recipients have been living and working in the United States for decades, as you've heard this morning. El Salvador has participated in the program since March of 2001 after two major earthquakes devastated the country. After decades of living in the United States, TPS recipients are homeowners, business owners, and vital fixtures in our diverse and vibrant neighborhoods. Ending TPS will subject children and families to mass deportation, will tear apart communities, and will plunge El Salvador further into violence and economic instability. The announcement concerning El Salvador comes on the heels of other anti-immigrant actions by the federal government, including stripping Haitians and Nicaraguans of TPS status and dismantling the deferred action for childhood arrivals program for Dreamers late last year. There is no basis for terminating TPS. This humanitarian program has been consistently renewed under both Democratic and Republican administrations to protect people escaping armed conflicts and environmental disasters. TPS, despite what the federal government says, simply does not present a choice between being tough on crime or being soft on immigration, because TPS, by definition, means that you do not have a criminal conviction. As we have heard this morning, criminal convictions disqualify you from TPS status. The program also comes with employment authorization, which means that the economic productivity of its beneficiaries is guaranteed. At the Lawyers Committee, we stand with the families and children that are here this morning. We stand with Centro Presente, and we stand with all of the families that believe in the American dream. And we will not stand idly by as the federal government continues to expel people of color and continues to generate tremendous fear in our communities. In our office, we receive phone calls every day from families saying that their children arrived home, saying that they were told they would be deported. That is un-American and unacceptable. And in the same way that we sued the Trump administration late last year on behalf of sanctuary cities, Lawrence and Chelsea, to stand up for the rights of sanctuary cities, and the same way that we brought the lawless sheriff, Hodgson, of Bristol County to court, we will defend and represent the children and families affected by TPS. TPS may be temporary, and it may be at the government's discretion, but discrimination and racism are unconstitutional and are not a valid reason for canceling the program. We will continue to fight with Centro Presente every step of the way to explore legal options to hold Trump and the federal government accountable for this tremendous injustice. Thank you.
Last year, TPS for Haiti was terminated, and we were also devastated. But we don't want to be just devastated. We want to be by hand, mano a mano, working with the Haitian community. We have to. It's a moral obligation. So that's why they are here today. Our last speaker is Pastor Dubois. I never can pronounce your name. Sorry, my French is horrible. From the Haitian American United.
Thank you very much, Patricia. My name is Pastor Jufo Fleurissin. I am the executive pastor of Voice of the Gospel Tabernacle in Marapen, also chair of the Haitian American United in Chihuahua Center. I'm here with my colleague, Dr. Gabo, just to thank Centro Presente for standing with us, and also thank all the elected officials, the mayor, for standing with us since inception of the crisis last year when Haiti was extended for only 6 months. Now with 18 months of delayed preparation, that's the way we've heard it. I want to thank God for making it possible, which is the best gift we have. We have life, and the fact that we have life, we can fight. And also, what really makes America great, it's the massive contributions of all immigrants. I just can go back to 1776, more than 5,000 Haitians died for this country, fought alongside with Americans to gain its independence. And then, and I can concur with what happened, the massive contribution of immigrants for this country. And we said, this country belongs to God because in God we trust, and we know God is love. And if God is love, God does require justice, does require the manifestation of that love. And that's what America should stand for. And the plea today is an action call. Basically, I've heard 20 months, but we don't have 20 months. We have 12 months because the Nicaraguans only get 12 months, right? Only 12 months just to get ready to leave this country. And thank you very much for Lawyers Committee for standing with us. And we also call upon all friends, all immigrant friends, and also Congress to act and to come with a law, definitely, that can grant those people permanent residency. I have received 2 calls this morning for people who told me that in 9 days, they will not be able to hold in their jobs because their employers asking them to provide a current authorization card for them to remain in their employment. As you know, the news was announced since November, and up to now, they're still not being granted permission to apply for a new card. So they are all in limbo, not knowing what's going to be in the next 12 to 15 days. So I'm calling upon you to stand with us and to call all the elected officials, especially the congressional delegations here, and to tell them to include also within the discussion in Washington, TPS as well as DACA. Thank you very much.
We're ending the program, but we're not ending the struggle. Centro Presente has been around for more than 35 years, and we're going to continue fighting for the respect of the basic human rights of our communities. And now I want to call all the members of Centro Presente that are here, that are part of the audience, and also have TPS. Vengan al frente, por favor. Las personas que tienen el TPS, que están aquí, vengan sin miedo, hay que alzar nuestras voces. Les pido a todos, por favor, que vengan, la gente de la comunidad Brandy, ven todas las personas que tienen TPS. Todas, que son miembros de Centro Presente, que han venido a reuniones desde hace un año. Los quiero todos aquí al frente, por favor. You're my heroes. People with TPS that have been coming to Centro Presente for the past 18 years, 16 years, 15 years to renew TPS, that have been coming to meetings, to rallies. So they are the ones that are our members. And they are going to be here fighting. And I just want to let you know that it's an honor for me to work every single day, Jennifer, our organizer, at Centro Presente, see every single day these people, every single Saturday, coming to meetings with hope that we're going to do something, right? And I hope to see you too, working with our community, supporting us. Come, know us. We're your friends. We're your neighbors. We go to schools with your children. Thank you so much. Centro Presente is going to be here working and working with the community, working with other community organizations, with our local government, with our state government, and demanding that they can also do something. Massachusetts is not, I'm sorry, but it's not a progressive state. We can do better. We can do more for undocumented people. So thank you so much. On behalf of Centro Presente, I want to thank all of you for being here. But I don't want to see you just when we're facing a crisis. I want to see you all the time working with the communities. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.